Hey, everybody. Here we are again. Back to do it. Cheers, sir. I think, couldn't even tell you what episode this is. I think this is 10 that we're working on right now.
11 teen.
Mm. It feels like we've been doing this for 2 years already. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand, when we say after hours, we are literally doing this at the end of one of our long days of the week on Wednesday nights.
What actual time is it?
It's 7:45.
So, yeah.
And we're getting started. Now, that was by design this time.
I've been here since 8:45 this morning.
Yeah, I got here at 9:30-ish. And, that's how it goes. Luckily, we're not getting off to such a late start due to technical issues.
Right.
But what we did do was try to make some more adjustments so that the quality of not only the sound, but the visual aspect is better. When I started out to do this, I said I wasn't going to put out a piece of junk. And I don't think we've put out some junk, but we've had some issues. And when I watch them for editing purposes, there is just always so much that jumps out at me. James a lot likes to tell me, you're overthinking it, but there's things.
We'll always be our own harshest critics.
Sure, right.
There's no way around that.
And that's, if I just eliminate these issues, then I have nothing to worry about. I'll be perfectly happy. I'm obsessive compulsive about a lot of stuff.
We'll always find something to complain about.
Like, I'll probably just hear where I just sighed, and that'll bother me, where the mic probably popped. I don't know at this point, because there's also a lot of times where if you're watching this visually, there's little thought bubbles that come up, and where I'm complaining about something, or, I think you can hear that. In the beginning, the table tapping was a big one. Nobody could hear that on the finished product, but in my headset, I could hear it a lot, and it was driving me nuts. So,
or even tapping the microphones,
the wires, the microphone, the stands,
kicking a chair,
all kinds. I think I have officially produced our first blooper that we'll be releasing for fun. A little short, a 10-second clip of me literally taking this chair and bouncing around in it because I thought it was making too much noise. Spilling my drink everywhere, my liquor drink, and some people might get that reference, hopefully.
TPBs.
Yeah. So, so that's where we're at. That's why we had a little later start. Generally, if we have no issues and we are able to shut the store down, on time at 7 p.m., by 7:20, we're ready to roll, and good to go. So here we are.
The sounds of science.
Yep. And we'll just keep plugging away at it until we perfect it. So
wishful thinking now.
Yeah. I mean, unless our viewership declines, more than it has already with a couple of them. I mean, we came out of the gate real strong with episode 1. And here again, behind the scenes type of stuff. We talked about the shop, and in the last episode we also discussed, some of the behind the scenes with this. My one wish was that, and I might be repeating myself, so we might clip all this out, but we'll find out. I was like, as long as it could get 300 views in 4 days, 5 days, I'll be real happy. And it did a little better than that. So I was real excited. And then we had some great creators on, and it fell off. And we've just kind of stayed at that fallen off number. Now, the last one seems to be bouncing up a little bit more. The last one that was aired, which I think was episode 5, which...
Or 6.
5 or 6. Well, 6 is the newest one, okay. Which, so, in 24 hours, 36 hours, we don't have a lot of data on that one yet. But the one before that, the funny story about that one, and we've talked about that too, on the one that followed it. So the one that did just get released, oh gosh, you guys are going to be like, it's like a beautiful mind scrambling around with all this stuff the way I'm trying to describe it, and I apologize. But I talked, it was the first time that we weren't sure if it was right, and it almost went in the trash, and we just chopped it up enough that we were able to use it. And I'm going to move off of this real quick, because that is another thing we just talked about is, as this is new, I have noticed that we've repeated some topics. And now I think I am repeating a topic, pretty close together, and I don't want to do that because I think that also hurts our listeners and like us as so we have gotten a little more organized. You'll see where I joke, about now I have a list I have, on my phone, and we're getting there. Hopefully, again, like I said, we perfect it and deliver a product that is the equivalent of the shop we've built. That's kind of where I'm at. So cheers to that. Damn it. So
Slancha.
let's talk about a couple of things. Kind of been a little slow for buying this last week, but we're also in that time.
What an oddity after such an incredible amount of time where buying just went through the roof.
I think for the last week or two, I probably said no more times.
And maybe that's really what it is, because so have I. I've turned down quite a bit.
We're getting a little more particular. We're not going to be your pooper scooper and just take your junk. I've in the last 2 weeks, I've had 3 different people bring in, the equivalent of a short box of comics. And I go through it and I say, I'm just not going to make you an offer. I'm not going to buy a short box of comics. And in my mind, I'm like, they came here thinking they were going to make some real money. I'm going to offer them 10 or 15 bucks because all the rest of it's quarter 50-cent stuff. There might be 2 $10 books in there.
Right.
I'm not going to buy your whole box, for 2 $10 books to not make money.
Well, the market itself has changed.
Sure.
And
but don't hold on. Let's stick to the point though.
Okay.
What happened in those 3 times was I tell them I'm not interested. You can just have them. And then I'm like, well, okay, hey, if that's where we're at, I am still going to give you, $5-10 bucks. I'm going to throw half of this away. I'm going to pull one $10 book out of it, and then I'm going to throw 30 books in the quarter buck, boxes, and we'll make something off of it. But
my brain is going more to the guy that we helped bring all the short boxes in, and he had an idea.
Well, that was another case, and I'm not sure if we did touch on that, but yeah, that where he wanted $2,000, and when he finally got me to tell him I couldn't even go to $1,000 on it, he said, "Okay, thanks." He was real polite. I think he was mad, but
the market has changed, and what I think is a lot of people aren't anywhere near as sensitive to that as we might be.
Sure.
Because not only are we buying it all the time, we're trying to sell it all the time.
So back up a couple of months, there was a guy that was trying to sell me. I went and looked at a collection. It took me a little short road trip, and we might have discussed that, but I don't think we did delve into this one. He priced everything during the stay at home in 2020, towards the later end of it. And it might have been where most of us were back out in the world, but some people were still staying at home and, sheltering or, maybe going to work. But he was like, I just didn't have a social life, so me and the wife were just here at home all the time. So we went through and he priced everything. And then he goes, and then I wasn't sure if I wanted to sell yet or wait. So he waited. And he waited and he waited. And he wasn't collecting anymore. He wasn't really, paying attention to anything. And he brought it in, and he was like, I went to see him, and he's like, I had this at $100, and value for this one book. And I said, yeah, in 2020, 21, 22 even, it was. It's now a $30 book, and some of those books are $5 books. We joke about that all the time, that when I'm going through and pricing stuff and I'm like, this book's going in the $5 bins. I remember it was on the wall for $50, 3 years ago.
Right.
A lot of that's
Immortal Hulk.
Yeah, we talked about that one before, so we're not going to rehash that. That was one everybody was dumping too. Like when the run got done and it had value to it, everybody was selling it. And I don't think we talked about that when it relates to that. We did talk about how much we were seeing. It was like every week a full run was coming in, and then it's dead now.
Well, what I was specifically thinking of though was that first appearance, the Avengers book.
683,
which is it just I mean, just you crashed.
Yeah. So yeah, not like it, but again, where I was going was it's a weird time of the year. It's July. You got a lot of people are getting in their last vacations before back to school or whatever starts up. So a little dip could be expected. I think we'll be seeing more of it again here soon. But we did have, this is a little story here. We had a collection lot of late silver, early bronze, mostly Marvel come in. What, a long box worth, long and a half, maybe?
Oh no, I was thinking. Well, you pulled a little out before I saw it.
Not much.
But what was
Two
left
shorts.
for me was a short plus.
Oh, okay, so it didn't add up to that much. So the story behind it, though, was I actually looked at these books a year ago, and I was kind of thrown. The lady walked in with them, and it said, or well, first, this time around, she walked in and said, "Are you guys buying comic books still?" And I said, "Yeah." You look kind of familiar. Well, I don't know. And she was distinct, and this is not a knock, but I mean, her height, she was very short hair, tattoos, like she had a distinct look, but I couldn't put my finger on, was it here? Did I see it at a concert, a bar,
Right.
something like that? I just wasn't sure. And then I'm going through the books, and there's pricing for a lot lot what they thought they were. Somebody went and did
The
their
Post-its.
research.
Yeah.
And no, it was little clippings of
Oh,
notebook
yeah,
paper.
right.
And
I did
they'd have
find
like
some of those.
$50 on an $8 book, and stuff like that. And I talked to her last year, and so I looked through the books, and I'm like, man, I think I looked at these before, but I'm gonna make an offer on them again. When I get done, I ask, what were you looking to get? And she said, well, you made an offer almost a year ago, and it was this much, and I've shopped it around, and yours was the best. And at that point, the jerk in me wanted to be like, well, now the offer's, no, I didn't do that. I honored the offer. I did feel like after going through it, it seemed to be, consistent. Those books weren't dying off. Some of them have kind of calmed down a little bit, but they weren't, falling off.
So let me ask, now that I processed those books and made all the notes and you've priced at least a portion of it, did it hold up?
Not sure yet. It's going to be tough because some of it, when you look at a collection, and this wasn't like, a high dollar offer. I didn't sit down and count every page and every book because
Right.
it would have taken hours. It's, we got to find a middle ground there. Some of the stuff that I couldn't see, like rusty staples with migration onto the pages in some of those books, I was checking to make sure centerfolds were there on a lot of it because it wasn't, 90% of it wasn't bagged or boarded. So it was easy to flip through and, kind of get an idea.
And the books were mostly complete.
No cutouts,
Yeah.
no. I don't think there was, as for what I've priced so far, I haven't seen a note from you that anything was missing. Flat out missing.
Because those books I pulled.
There was a small stack that's going straight to the bargain fodder.
Somebody really did enjoy tracing Thor, though. It's
So, and that was one thing when I was trying to count some pages and check centerfolds and covers that I did not catch. So that hurt me a bit. I did see, some of them had some liquid staining. Nothing too horrible like waviness and water damage, but liquid stains.
Right.
And,
which is what led to all those rusty staples.
right. So anyway, we ended up buying it. It only took us a year.
Right.
And the fun thing about it was I didn't look. There was a couple of like pieces of paper and stuff in with these comics that weren't necessarily those pricing sheets. I think this lady and her partner did that portion of it, but then I found an original owner letter in there.
Was
A
it
piece of paper.
Was it the guy who wrote his name on the back of a whole bunch of the books?
Yeah.
That's okay.
So what it was I guess they were from Poplar Bluff, Missouri.
Great.
There was a clipping, a news article and the header was something about, a display at Walmart brings attention to collectibles, and it starts to talk about, like, at the time, Marvel Comics #1 being worth $50,000 possibly, and some other stuff. And
So what's that, 20, maybe 20 plus years ago?
so that article was then stapled to a complete list. Well, not a complete list. What it was title of the book and how many issues they had for it. And at the bottom it was, I made this list on Christmas 1980. And then the same name from the back of the book signed on to it.
Wow.
And I was like, this person probably collected comics as a young person or young adult, because we're talking 68, 67 to 72.
Well, yeah, after going through the books, this person obviously bought all of them within about an 18-month period.
Yeah, for the most part. There was a couple of stragglers on the earlier side, and there were a couple of books from that list that weren't in there. And I was
there was a really beat up early 80s Brave and the Bold issue that stuck out. Which one of these things is not like the other ones?
That was probably somebody who was like, oh, I heard you had a comic collection, or somebody else had it.
Right.
So I kind of had this idea that this person read this article and created like a time capsule, or put this list with these comics so that in the event of their passing on, the family would have an idea of what was there. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. And I mean, so far what we're going through, a lot of it's just affordable books from that time.
Well, what's really funny about that is almost every time somebody tells us they have a list, our reaction internally is, ugh.
Well, I tell people, don't worry, don't even, like, I'm getting a list together, I'll get it organized. Organizing it, that can help.
Sure.
It can help, because then the likelihood of me missing something as I'm going through it is much lower, which is good for the buyer,
But typing everything into a spreadsheet is time and money we can't help you get back.
Well, and then, so here's an even different one that this wasn't on my radar to talk about tonight, but a guy came in Saturday 2 years ago and went to look at a collection. I think I drove 45 minutes to an hour to get there, not a huge deal, but it was hot. It was another one of these where I'm in the garage. They're like, I brought it all out to the garage so you could see it.
Thanks.
Yeah, what, you got an AC out here? It's hot, man. And I go through it and I make an offer, and he was like, oh, I was just kind of hoping for a little bit more. Let me think about it. And then I didn't hear nothing for about 1.5 years. And then he emails me again and says, oh, I totally forgot I had 500 books that I thought were the best.
Oh, yes, I remember this now.
In the basement.
I remember this now, yes.
And he goes, no wonder. He goes, your price, if you think about, for what was there, was very fair. I just kind of expected a little more because I thought these were in it. Uh-huh. So he's like, I'm going to have you back out. So oddly enough, I'm like, hey, whenever you're ready, we'll make it happen. Here's the best days of the week for me to make that happen now. And I didn't hear from him. Saturday he shows up and he brings in about 50 books. And I mean, most of it's just garbage, just trash or 50 cents. Mm-hmm. There was some dollars. There was mid-grade Spawn #1 that he was expecting to be $100 to $200.
It's a $20 book if it's mint.
Yeah, 20, 25 in that ballpark. Even though some people are asking 40 and 50, there's still not a lot of evidence of that book peaking at that yet. For a regular non-newsstand. The newsstand, you're going to get 80 to 100, 125, depending on condition. But he did have 2 #2 newsstands. Mm. I mean, we made a cheap trade for those. I think he took like a $10 or $15 slab, a slab that wasn't worth slabbing for that. And he was happy, but he started to show me where I was going with this. I made a list. How do I send it to you? And I was like, just send me the spreadsheet. Mm. Then he pulls out his iPhone to show me. It was notebook pages of a handwritten list. And there were like 80 pages. He made a full list. And he was like, this way you could just tell me what you want. And I said, look, I told you before. I want the whole thing. And what's killing me about all of this is what he thinks he has in the safe alarms me, because there was a BA-12 in the boxes. It was the one book that gave any kind of value.
Yeah.
Because he essentially said, you offered $1 a book, and I thought that was fair. I don't ever offer $1 a book for modern.
That means he had no idea what that BA-12 was.
And it wasn't, but...
Harley who?
Right. But that book was probably accounted for 1/3 of the offer, you know. So
Right.
Out of 1,500 books, one book got you that offer. So it you know, that was interesting. And then about a year ago, here's another older story, but this ties into current times again. This is all this week, obviously. So there's a guy who has come in several times. He sold me some stuff. I bought, the first time I think he came in was a Famous Monsters and Filmland collection, magazines. And I think it was about 120 issues, maybe, if it was that deep. I don't know. It was a box, 2 boxes. I can't remember. Everything starts to blur together. But there were some good books in there. I mean, some nice, valuable books. And we made a solid offer, and he sold it to us on the spot. Then he came back and he sold us some oddball vintage card collections one time, and some other stuff, some miniature toys or something. It was weird. And then he came back and he brought me some comics. Now, in these comics, there was, you know, some Bronze Age stuff, a couple of things, but there was Gold Key, and you had Magnus Robot Fighter, or as my dad used to call it, Magnus Robot Fighter, and
Robot.
And what was the other one? What's the other big? Oh, Space Family Robinson.
So I was going to say Turok.
And we got the Turok one in the last one, but those 2 titles, Space Family and Magnus, the number 1s weren't there. I got like 2 through 18 or something.
I think I remember going through those books.
And I was like, man, where's the 1s? Well, he came back in this past Friday. Oh, so to back up, little context for this story is, in the multiple times that he's selling us stuff, I start a conversation with him, and he starts to tell me he's helping out a family friend who is dealing with the estate of somebody that has passed on. And he starts to tell me about some of the stuff that they have. And he's like, I'm sending some books off to CGC. I
talked to Heritage.
Yeah. Then he started talking to Heritage, and, you know, kind of went from there. And I said, hey.
Well, that's where our ears go. Boing.
Well, I was like, why don't you at least give me the opportunity to see what you end up with and what I can do before you mail it anywhere. Let's see what it is. And I said, worst case scenario, I may be willing to take it on just on consignment. And he named some stuff, and we're going to get there, what was in there. And I was just like, yeah, we'll be real interested. So when he came in this Friday, he brought in a total of 31 comics. 31. 4 were CGC graded. You had Fantastic Four 3 and 4, kind of lower grades. They weren't huge, you know, a couple $1,000. Then he had number 5, First Doctor Doom, in a 16.5, which right now is a $12,000 to $14,000 book.
Did you just say 16.5?
Oh yeah, 6.5. Number 5 in a 6.5 that is a $12,000 to $14,000 book. And then my thoughts all got crumbled up there.
Yeah, First Doctor
Doom.
For those that don't know,
greatest villain of all time.
Yeah,
Cheers to that. That's like bumping mics as comics do on their knee, kind of. Where they're just going to cheers. So,
a book I owned for a long time, and sold with some regret.
Yeah. So then there was an ASM 1. 3.5, I think it was. I still have all my notes from pricing.
Oh, son. I was sitting in the bed when you sent those pictures. Well, let's be honest. I was laying down, movie on or something. I sat straight up, and the first words out of my mouth were, and I'm going to switch it. Oh, ish. Mother F. What the H? What's going on here? Because you didn't give me a context or anything. You just sent the pictures.
I was waiting to see what you would say.
And I grabbed her and I was like, look, and just an immediate loss of mind.
Yeah. So then the other 27 books were FF6 through 18, and then it kind of skipped a couple, but that got to 24 books, 25 books of Silver Age Fantastic Four that were raw. Well, unfortunately, there was about 10 of them from like 7 to 12 in that area, well, a little bigger maybe, that had some water ripples. They could have been pressed out. I was confident in that. There wasn't any deep staining or anything.
That 6 is a monster book, too, because it's the first supervillain team-up.
There was a second number 5.
Another one.
Raw. Really, really rough. And he did tell me he sent it off to be pressed and cleaned and graded.
And they said, don't grade it?
Or he did press and clean and then decided not to grade it. He just thought it would still help bring up the value. Now, the problem is the spine was split in such a way from the top corner about 2/3 down to the book, almost right to the bottom staple, that I am convinced that the presser did that.
Ooh, oh no!
It was it looked like the board that you put in there to do that split that cover.
Oh, son!
There was no kind of differentiation, if that's the right, like between the two pieces. It was a completely straight line all the way down.
Oh, that's brutal.
And I did not talk to him about that to see if he had noticed that yet.
Oh, that's.
And then the other two, the final 2 books, oddly enough. So the ASM 1 we could determine the gentleman bought because FF was on the cover. Like that was his thing. That's what he went. We couldn't figure out where's 1 through 3. Like where did those go? And
maybe he just never could afford them. By the time he started buying, they were already prohibitive.
No, he was
buying early.
I think so. Yeah.
But those were books that
original
even early.
owner.
Well, I mean, when they were $100 a piece,
but
back
they weren't in '63. They weren't $100. Nobody was.
Was he buying that early?
Yeah. Supposedly the story is he was buying them then and read them and loved them, and then eventually, after reading them multiple times, put them in a box, and eventually they went into a non-climate controlled shed. But it was a sealed up shed. Luckily, there's no but
mice.
there was no mice. There was no
insects.
No heavy foxing. There was foxing, but it wasn't awful. Yeah, no paper worms or anything like that. Mites. But the other 2 books, is it 35 and 36 or 37 and 38 showcase? First 2 Metal Men.
Oh, that's.
Like totally different spectrum, but also that team dynamic.
Yeah, well, for a guy that's that into the FF, you'd almost expect him to be chasing the Challengers books.
Right,
I mean, the crossover there from Marvel to DC is so abundantly obvious. Metal Men, though, I mean, where's the connection there?
Yeah, I don't know. So but hey, I'm always happy to see a first appearance.
Well, I mean, old showcase issues.
Yeah.
Below 50, 60.
Yeah.
I mean, what's bad stuff there?
No, not at all. I mean, even beyond that, you got some great stuff.
Sure, but those early ones, I mean, that's just banger after banger after banger.
So, on these 31 books, I made the single largest offer I have ever made on such a small lot of books. And what we got to was how the conversation went was, yep, I will take these on consignment. I will match Heritage. This way you don't have to ship them. You don't have to do anything. But then as I was pricing them and going through the raw books and everything, he left them here for a few hours and came back. So I could count every page. I wanted to make sure there was no cutouts, all this stuff, so I can make him an accurate offer. Now, on the loose stuff, I made the standard offer for those type of books that we would make all the time. On the graded books, I matched what fair market value was after sellers fees and some other, like I told him, like it's the same thing. You're going to have to pay our processing fees for payments. Let's figure all this out. I made the offer, like right at, if you were to ship this to Heritage, they sell it, and this is what you get. Then I had to have the discussion with him, like, I hope you understand, like, I'm taking a gamble here. Because your book might not hit fair market value.
Right.
If that auction ends at a weird time or somebody's just not paying attention and it doesn't hit that mark, you're stuck with it. You're getting what you get. You can put a reserve on them, but I do believe that when you put a reserve, just like eBay, that site charges you a higher
fee.
A fee for that. Because they're putting the work in to put the auction out.
Well, and you're going to pay that fee whether or not it sells.
Exactly. So I made a very solid offer on those 4 graded books, and kind of reduced our margin, mostly because, one, I know 3 of them will move quick. The big one is the one that scares me.
The ASM one?
No, the big one is the FF5 in that grade.
Well, yeah.
In that grade, what that book has been pulling down for the last year or two is crazy. And,
well, that's,
there's a lot of anticipation right now.
Well, as much as
it's always been a hot book.
Well, we've repeatedly said the spec market is dead, the spec market is dead, the spec market is dead. But you know what?
That seems to be one that's...
Dr. Doom right now
is going
is
a little
one
nuts.
of those very, very few still extremely hot properties. And,
because even a bad MCU... Dr. Doom is going to be better than a Fox Dr. Doom.
Well, God bless Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Keep us alive.
And the Russo brothers, directing that.
Mr. Downey, we need to sell comics.
Right.
Thank you.
Don't screw it up.
We appreciate you.
We're holding out for you.
Yeah, yep.
So, well, we're not yet. So, we'll get to that too. So, I made the offer on the Raws. I made the offer on the big. Well, that's where we're going. Is that at any moment the economy could crash, the market could crash on what we're doing. That book could devalue very quickly overnight, and I could suddenly go to a break even at best case scenario. And that's like, I was like, let me get it out. Let's do it. Well, let me talk to the family. Let me see what we can do. Side note, that's where I was going. So with the raw books and the graded books, I took it and basically said, this is my offer on this is my offer on these, but if you put them together and it helps get the deal done, I'll throw another, I think it was like $700 on top of there. I rounded it up to the next nice 1,000 decimal
level,
point.
Yeah.
And I said, just to help get this all done, because I wanted the books. And here we are 5 days later, and I still haven't heard back because he's got to go back and talk to the family. Now, part of me in the back of my mind, we're done. I'm not, it might be over.
But that's not always how it works, and especially with stuff like this.
Multiple family members involved in the estate of this. This guy is just handling it for them. He had no power, except for some of the stuff that he did sell us that he told me, like, in his mind, it just wasn't worth major money. It was good money. It wasn't, there was nowhere near, like, I wrote a nice check for those famous monsters of Filmland, but, it was a fraction of the offer I made on this. I mean, we're talking, a fairly well-paid part-time employee's annual salary.
Famous monsters, even early ones, super cool.
Yeah.
Not
Dr.
early
Doom.
60s Marvel
Yeah,
Silver Age
Right.
single digit blue chip first appearance books. And ASM1 is going to ring with us every time.
Oh yeah, that'll walk out the door immediately. Like like I said, 3 of those graded books, I'm certain
Would just go.
they'll go fast.
Yeah.
We're talking in the $2,000 to $3,000 range.
Well, especially if we don't just open sales like everything else to just the locals. If we make that available to everybody.
No, we won't have to. I really don't think so with the caliber of those books.
But
and
I'm
we've
just
proven
saying,
that.
if we did,
Oh yeah,
it-
I'd sell it in 10 minutes if
Yeah,
we
it's-
posted
it's-
it on our socials and said it's available for shipping.
yeah,
If you pay today,
You-
it could be yours.
you want to see one of our posts get shared more times than anything we've ever done.
Oddly enough, the biggest post we ever had was Dr. Doom at a piano. You remember that?
Yeah.
And he was singing, "Oh baby, you got what I need." That thing hit it was like 150,000 likes or something. It was crazy, and it wasn't even something that we created. It was something
Just shared.
Yeah, we just shared it. It was nuts.
But it hit, and it got shared over and
Right.
over and over
Right.
and over and over.
So here we are. I'm still playing the waiting game. Oh, that's where I was at. Part of me, I just want to put it out, but then the other part might be, it might take time. And then what I have to keep in the back of my mind is, it doesn't seem like there's been any urgency. This guy sold to me over the course of a year.
Yeah.
And what he sold me, you could have brought it all in one lot, and we could have settled it then, and it wouldn't have. You might have had to wait a couple of hours,
But,
or come back like you did with those books.
If there's anything I've learned with a family situation where somebody has passed away, they almost never want to just bang it all out at once.
Well, and there's probably one person too that's like, no, I think we can get double that. And well, there's not double that in value there. My margin was closing in, and I was going to try to make some of it up on the raws, but I still made a strong offer.
But no, you're right. There's always the possibility of somebody doing their research.
Point to that, we recently, the WB store collection we bought, there were 3 sisters involved in that, selling that, and one nephew that was facilitating all the work for it. One sister was the holdout every time that we had to go back and forth on this. And I mean, that was in the end about a quarter of my offer, on some of the stuff that I we're talking about now. But it had to go back and forth, and it took 2 weeks for finally, I think the 2 sisters and the nephew finally, pile drive the other aunt and, said, "We're taking this check, man. This is a nice amount of money. We're done."
You got to stop, sister.
Yeah.
They all sat on top of her and said nope, 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 and nope.
Well, and then that person, the sister that was the holdout, which is weird, she was the one that brought me the first few pieces that we bought from it individually, and was so happy with the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And then
she saw that check and then started looking stuff up.
Yeah. So, and that was the thing. There was more stuff that we never saw. She told me about, Wile E. Coyote tape dispenser. Scott has a story about picking one up at like a Goodwill for $2 or $5, thinking it was just goofy, and he liked it. And then he got it home and looked it up, and he's like, "This is $30-$40, and he got a good deal on it." There was stuff like that I never saw.
Right.
So she came back, and she brought me some carded stuff. I mean, some toys, and I made an offer, and I told her what the value was on everything. She goes, "Well, I'll just take this back with me." So this is what I wasn't understanding. She thought the money I was telling her, which I don't know how she thought that, was what it was worth, or no, what I was willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling her, this is what it's worth, and this is what I'm going to pay you.
Mm-hmm.
And we got down to like 3 carded, really unique items. I can't even remember what they were called, head busters or something, where they would take the WB character and kind of make this fold out playset, almost like a Micro Machines.
Yeah, I didn't see any
Micro
of those.
Masters. Well, we didn't get them. That's why. So, and And then there were some other like actual little figure, sets. And I told her the figures didn't have a lot of value, but these do. And I mean, essentially, I was like, these are $300 for all three. She goes, okay, I'll take 300. And I was like, well, no, that's not that's not how this works. And she goes, well, that's what you told me they're worth. And I said, yeah, I got to sell them. And I was just so thrown because it was like, I just wrote you guys a several $1,000 check a few weeks ago.
And to boot, you were being honest with her.
Yeah, I was like showing her stuff. I was educating her, like I'm open.
The deal probably would have been easier if you'd left all that information out and just said, here's what I can pay for these.
Yeah, I guess so. But she came in kind of asking for help. And I was like, okay, like we get that sometimes.
Sure.
Where one, you just have the people, but also it's the people that you did work with before that just kind of, well, your stuff. We're going to come back and help you. She just didn't like my answers on some of it.
Yeah.
She thought they were more. And over this time, I've heard from 2 or 3 different people. She's done multiple garage sales where she has those items and a bunch of cookie jars.
Somebody just said to me within the last few days that they'd gone to one of her garage sales.
And she's asking like insane money.
Well, but the conversation ended up, oh, Eric. And then she said nice things and about how great you were. So
I don't know. That day she did not. I mean, Scott was even. He was here. He was here when I met her the first time. She cried. She freaking cried the first time because I took care of her and the emotional connection. She was letting go of a part of her brother. So, but she hugged me and thanked me for talking and setting up to go see her nephew to look at the rest of the collection and all this stuff. And then we worked it all out. And that day, I was just like, whoa, what did I do?
Well, this is always going to be one of the absolute toughest parts of the business we're in, is dealing with people that are left with stuff when somebody's gone.
And it's not even a personal emotional attachment to the object. It's the person.
Sure.
That it's connected to,
right.
And I mean, honestly, at a certain point, people might not like what I'm about to say, but like in this case, you're getting free money. Like, and I don't know, I was told with the big buy that I did, I was taking care of the bills for the estate, what was left over.
Right.
I was told specifically, you are more than taking care of it. So anything we do on top of this is just gravy.
Right.
So it's free money. And that doesn't mean that I'm coming in to take advantage of you.
Right.
But maybe you shouldn't be trying to squeeze every penny out of it and just let it move on.
Right.
Because here we are. Again, we did talk about, when we first put that collection out, the WB stuff, we sold a lot. But now
there's still a bunch left.
It's a crawl. If a piece leaves every 2 weeks, I'm happy now. But I still got 30, 40 pieces around this shop.
Yeah, and add that all up.
Thousands of dollars worth of stuff.
Well, and even not retail, but what do we have in it that we're still stuck with?
Yeah. Right. And I gotta float that burden, essentially.
And this is, when I say to people all the time, I'm willing to gamble this much.
Yeah.
Because I know we're going to sell a couple of things quick. We're going to sell a couple of things over time. And then there's going to be stuff that doesn't sell.
Yeah. And then I'm stuck with it. And I'll be lucky if in 4 or 5 years,
well, you get to leave with your money right now. Yeah. And the rest of this is my problem.
Yeah. And I'm going to avoid that because I'm not sure if I'm going to repeat a conversation we have. We'll talk about that after this one, because if not, it needs to get added to the list so that we can talk about that. So
but, I mean, it's the nature of the business, and it's hard for people to understand that there may be a value associated with all things.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean we can get that right now.
Right. No, and that's the thing. I mean, we're in a position that we also don't have to, quote unquote, drop our pants to move product. Business is good enough. We buy the right way. We treat people the right way.
Right.
but we don't have to constantly be doing 40% off, or yeah, I'll cut you a deal, I'll haggle with you on this, I'll do that, because we price it right. We're doing fine. Eventually it'll move. There's been a couple of times in the last few weeks here where Scott has seen me do, a little happy dance behind the counter because somebody came in and bought a pricey item in the shop. And I'll tell Scott, like, there was one I was like, that came from the old location.
Right.
That's over 4 years ago. That came from the old location. That one, that was in the first 2 weeks we were in this location.
Well, and even the red ink happy dance.
Well, and it's so. No, now you're going to give away a secret. So for our true listeners, we have color-coded systems. We have color-coded for our price points in our comics, but we have color-coded for what we price by hand. And that is so that we know how long it's been here. And that was my way. We talk about him. I hope he hears this somewhere, where in heaven or hell, wherever Mark's at. Mark
Ferracci.
So, a friend of mine that owned a shop, and he had a system that every year he would change, like, his comics. He would price them. It would be like $5.99. The next year it would be $5.95, $5.97, whatever it was, So he knew how long something was around. And I just thought at the time, I was like, that's stupid. Stupid. You're doing too much work. But then I was like, how can I make it? It's good to know, but how can I make it better? Well, how I made it better was our ink colors that we use.
Well, and for really pricey stuff, it, if anything, just helps us know maybe when we need to price check something.
Exactly.
Yep. And in a lot of cases, the ink color changes because we put a new price on it.
Yeah, well, and we started doing that. We would check, and then even if it was still a good price, and there's a whole bunch of times we'll price check, and then we'll find out that this is actually really cheap, but I'm not changing it.
Right.
But we'll update the sticker, the color, the ink color, so that we know it doesn't have to be worried about right now.
Well, that we checked it. But but we changed Gene over there.
We dropped Gene. Love Gun, our giant 24-inch Gene Simmons figure that you could only get at Spencer's.
In what year?
I don't know. Early 2000s, I think.
So it's got a couple years on it.
Yeah. It's been here for almost 4 years. And finally, and then it did get a little damage to the packaging. So I was just like, let's drop the price. And literally, it's now a quarter of what it was, because I just wanted to go. It's such a big, awkward item. And now with that new price, the attention is even bigger. Still, nobody will commit, and it's so big.
Well, it just like any big piece, regardless of genre, it takes a special buyer who has the room to display it.
Yeah.
And a wife or husband that'll say, yeah, that's not a problem that you just put that giant, gaudy thing in the house that I hate.
Yeah.
Not every spouse is ready to look at 24 inches of Gene.
Right.
Let's be real. Not every spouse is ready to look at a 2-foot Batmobile.
Well, and two people were like, the problem is going to be I'm going to have to find the other 3.
Oh, but did they make all 4? It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't just Gene. It was all 4.
They did all of them.
Oh Lord! And imagine how much space it takes to display all 4 of them.
There's 2 different people. Like,
good night. That's you got to have a kiss room.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not just a collectibles room. You're all kiss at that point. Kiss. I think it's you're all in with the kiss. Gene, and some more Gene.
So we were, we also, talking about like price checking. Several weeks ago, I price checked an ASM book, the first appearance of Shocker, the graded book.
Oh, the one that was sitting in the case.
Yeah, sure. So it was sitting in the case. And this is going to speak to a couple of things that we do. So, I price checked it, and I was like, why is this not, I know I bought this a year and a half ago. This is a first appearance. Something happened.
Well, it's always easy to look at something like that that's a Silver Age book in a fairly high grade
Yeah.
and say this expensive price makes it hard to sell.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was at on it. And then I do remember, like, after it was here a couple months, I checked and it was fine. And then I just didn't think about it. But then, as time went by, I was like, why is this book still here? Why is this book still here? So finally, I did. I price checked it, and I chopped like $400 off the book. It went from $13.75 to $9.50, I think.
That hurts.
And like I have done with many things over the years, especially when it's like I find something, either one big item or multiple items that I went through the store and price checked and changed.
Mm-hmm.
I posted it to the socials.
Mm-hmm.
That was a post that went, semi-viral.
Because everybody was cheering us on. We can't believe you actually do that.
Yeah. But then we had a couple of trolls. Oh, it hasn't been that price for 16 months. Well, if you look at the one that sold after it, it only went down a little bit. And if you looked at what my price was, it was $100 below the price at the time that I bought it. And it came down and it came down. And then it just fell out. Like, it just dropped.
Well, and to all the trolls, if you count how many items are in this store, comics included, and you want us to price check everything on a daily, a weekly, a monthly, 6 month, even yearly basis.
Well, then we would have to become the shop that you won't shop at, because then nothing's priced and we'll just price it at the counter.
Well,
that's the other flip to it.
No,
we could be that store.
But we'd have no time to put out anything new. We wouldn't be processing. We'd be constantly repricing.
Somebody would process
stuff.
it, and I'm just throwing it out, and we're pricing it as you come up.
Well, yeah.
I'm being a smart ass here, but it's, because people hate that. We never do that.
Well,
I've made mistakes and left $40, $75 books in our dollar bins that we put out. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's happened a couple of times. And people bring it up to the counter and I notice it. Like, it'll hit me.
Well, as much as I read Reddit, the different comic subreddits, one of the things that comes up is how much everybody hates a shop. Prices at the counter.
They'll never get my business again. They always say.
That's what they say is I walk out. I'm done. I quit. I'm not going back.
But that's my point. Like, when I have never yanked something out of somebody's hands that they said I'm ready to buy. And I'm going to circle back and openly admit something that did take place in here one time. Vaguely. Ooh, that's a bad pop. Sorry, guys. So then, if you bring it up and I'm counting your dollar books, I'll just tell you, I missed that one. Nice find.
Well, and we try and point them out to each other because, dang, we missed that one. Let's not do that again.
And then there's times where I'm like, well, I know that shouldn't have been in there because I'm the one that prices every comic. I'm like, I know that shouldn't have been in there. How did I miss it?
Mm-hmm.
We won't do it. We'll congratulate somebody on getting a win, and you get a $40 book for $1. Good for you.
Don.
Yeah, Don's done it.
I've seen Don get a few wins, and
we've had several guys.
He smiles and says, "Excellent."
And then there's
it's a Monty Burns kind of thing he's got going on there. Yeah.
And then there's a flip to that. Like 2 years ago, maybe this is a while back. When we put out our bargain books, $1, $2, and $5 books, we'll pull titles of the book up and take pictures of the spread and put it out. We don't showcase every book. We just give you an idea what's in there.
And somebody says, claim.
Somebody was like, I want to claim those Earthworm Jim books in the dollar bin. It was only one they saw.
Yeah.
But then for some reason that was lost on me.
Yeah.
And 1 through 4 was there, or 1 through 3, whatever.
Somebody had already got them, I think.
Yeah, right. Somebody already did, but he was like, I want to claim them. And I said, this was a real weird situation.
Well, no, we just said...
just let me finish my thought.
All right.
We said we don't allow claims.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. So, tried to claim these Earthworm Jim books out of the dollar bins, and we just reply, we don't do any claims on our bargain books.
First come, first serve.
Right. You got to be here in person. You got to get them. Then he messaged the page and he says, oh, well, you might want to go pull those, and if they're nice, get them graded, and because you can make a lot more money. And then a couple of days go by, and I make one of us makes another post, and all of a sudden he's like, I'm letting everybody know I'm meeting every shop I go into not to deal with you because I had a bad experience. And I was like, you had a bad experience because we told you we wouldn't pull books? You were mad that we wouldn't pull expensive books that we missed out of a dollar bin that were probably already gone by this, because I think it was the next day that he even, messaged to try to claim them. I just, where does that toxicity come from?
Well, no, when that post showed up, I remember going and getting in the box and looking.
Oh,
They were gone.
yeah, they were gone.
Somebody else knew and got a hell of a deal.
Right.
And we probably didn't even see them go by at the register. No. And somebody walked out the front door whistling a happy song.
Right. So, we're going to kill that topic on my list, guys. Aren't you glad to hear that? So, I got so many more that I want to get into, but I think we're running out of time here tonight. We're not going to go over on.
Hey.
So, but a couple of quick little things.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot more video games that are coming out. We're filling space. We got those new cases. We're trying to pack those up.
My
goodness. What we did was, there's times we look at discs and we're
say,
just like,
no.
Now, okay, well, maybe I'll pay for them, but I'm paying for them like yard sale prices.
Right.
And we'll put the work in to get it back to where it needs to be. That was a $5,000 refurbished machine.
Right.
And, part of what we talked about is not making our peas pop so much to make that noise. Sorry, guys. Again, work in progress. But what we did originally talk about was, offering the service.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that we're going to do that.
Not yet, anyway.
And reason being is I remember talking to a video game shop owner that they stopped offering it because it was burning their machines out too fast.
Right.
And they didn't want to do it anymore.
Right.
It wasn't really worth the return on investment for them. And that's kind of where I'm at. I would rather what I spent on this for what we do here, our video games, is a small section.
Well, I feel like we're going to keep it busy enough.
We are. And we have a stockpile ready to go.
Right.
We knew we were ordering it, so we started piling stuff up. So that's a big thing. So, for our shoppers, probably by the time this drops, our video game room will be packed again.
Yeah.
Like more so than it's ever been.
Well, we've been keeping my son busy.
Yeah.
He's been testing games right and left for us. And luckily I have a large set of consoles at my house.
We talked about this.
Yeah. So he's able to test a lot of stuff. And then I will also bring an occasional console home. And just in the last few days, I had to take a ColecoVision and our Retron Atari to the house so he could work through a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah. I owe Aiden a little chunk of Dragon Ball at this point. He likes to collect Dragon Ball.
He loves the Dragon Ball.
So he's got a little payday coming here real soon once we finish getting this stuff through the ozone tent to make it acceptable.
Well, we just finally bought some minor upgrades to the ozone tent, so stuff is going to move through.
Yep. And then I think the last thing we'll end on is I don't know, we talked about our variants dying. Are loose common Pokemon cards dying? And this is where we struggle. The amount of space that they take up in the store isn't a lot.
The amount of time
it takes, one, to price and get the stuff out, and then two, for somebody to look through,
5,000
cards over the course of an hour or two that we're getting up and giving them different tubs and having to keep them in eye shot so that we know what's going on, for them to spend $3, $5, $8. We're not sure that we're going to keep
$1.
Yeah. I think we might be able to make better use of that real estate possibly. And it's not like it's a huge amount. We would still, continue if we get good graded cards, good quality cards that we put on display, don't put in our bulk bins.
Well, if it's something that's good enough to earn a top loader as
Right.
opposed to just a penny sleeve.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like on a dollar card, you can't put that in a top loader. It's a waste of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a kid and his brother that want to go through every tub together and manhandle these cards.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm done with it. I think I am. And then maybe next week we'll talk about, oh boy, I'm going to add this to the list as soon as I hit the stop button here. But how things have changed in the shop over the 4 years just in this location.
Oh, so many things.
But the amount of kids and families.
Sure.
And the pros and cons that
Sure.
come with that.
I feel like you just opened up the next 4 podcasts. Just, in all seriousness, I mean, the sheer amount of changes we've made is probably 12 podcasts or 16. But just to your point, I think 4 podcasts. There's so much to talk about there.
I don't know that my heart could handle a spike in blood pressure if we went 4 podcasts with that. So that's it, guys. Hopefully, by the time I go to review this one, we know that it looks better, sounds better. We're trying. We're going to keep trying. And
onwards and upwards.
Upwards. And hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Obviously, that's a big thing that needs to be said. Everybody that comes in the shop, everybody that comments, thank you. We do appreciate the positive feedback. Not just that, but the fact that you're giving up your time to listen to 2 old farts sit here and just be
curmudgeons.
So we appreciate that.
We appreciate all of it.
Cheers to you guys. Thank you very much.
Up and away.
Have a good night. We'll see you in a week.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time for the obligatory ask that you go like, subscribe, and share so that we can keep doing this.